Hey there, welcome everybody to another edition of Ridiculously Raw. I am your host. It is the most must-see show on YouTube and streaming.com today, of course. I am your host, Anthony Florio, joined by good old MF Michael Fletcher. I don't know if we're going to have the phenom Michael Bullock with us tonight. He's had a very busy day, to say the very least, so I don't think he'll be joining us this evening. However, if he does show up, if he does come in, we will catch him up on what he missed. Or if not, then we'll hopefully have him with us Thursday night for our huge NFL draft recap special when it comes to TXN Sports World. Of course, before we start, I want to take a moment to I actually received an update today, another update on our dear friend Mike Keenan, and friends, he is progressing. He is progressing. And he has been transported to a rehab facility, and now the next part of his recovery begins. And he's coming a long way. You know, he's doing much better than he was a few weeks ago. He's on the mend, and we're hopeful that soon enough this whole thing will be done, and he'll be back up and running, back to normal in no time. So I want to, as we always do, we're gonna dedicate this show here tonight to our dear friends Mike and Brian Keenan, who are avid supporters of our shows, whether it's Talking Wrestling TXN or TXN Sports World, and we thank them for their love and their support. And I'm beyond happy to hear that Mike is doing much better. So keep doing it, brother. Keep working at it. You'll get there in no time. You noticed I didn't do my traditional Monday Night Raw setup. That's because we're going to do things a little bit differently tonight, because we got quite a few things to get into. We're going to start it off. MF and I are going to take you through the TNA Rebellion pay-per-view that took place this past Sunday night from the Galen Center in Los Angeles, California, on the campus of USC. And let's not waste any more time. Let's dive right on. Dive right on in. We had two pre-show matches. The first pre-show match was a 6-woman tag team match. Representing TNA, you had Rosemary, Xia Brookside, and Lei Ying Lee squaring off against NXT's Fatal Influence, Fallon Henley, Jacy Jayne, and Jasmine Nix. Fatal Influence picked up the win in an even 9 minutes. And then the second match was the Walk with Elijah Open Challenge, and it was answered by a member of TMDK. And that TMDK member, none other than Shane Haste. But Elijah got the win in an even 6 minutes. So we're just going to bypass the pre-show and all that. Phenom Michael Bullock, welcome. We just started. MF and I are going to address the TNA Rebellion pay-per-view first, since that was this past Sunday night. And then we'll get into our traditional Raw and NXT. So with that being said, let's start it off with the first match on the main card. Ultimate X for the TNA X Division Championship. The champion Moose defending against Leon Slater, Matt Cardona, Triple A's El Hijo del Velkingo, representing First Class Casey Navarro, and Sidney Akeem, formerly Reggie in WWE. Winner of the match in 15 minutes and 20 seconds. And believe it or not, still the TNA X Division champion, it is Moose. The finish of the match saw a botched finish where Leon Slater pulled down the X Division championship, and both of his feet hit the mat, but Moose speared him. Moose then grabbed the belt, and they gave him the win. This is a 3.5 to 3 3/4 star match. This was a really great match. It's a real shame the ending was botched and TNA didn't just go with it instead of burying their heads in the sand. In my opinion, Leon Slater won the match and the title. It's clear as day on video. Very disappointing stuff. The match would have been easily rated higher had the finish gone correctly. I would have given this about 4. But I'm bumping it down to 3.5 to 3 3/4. You had it right there in front of you. And yet you had to pull that chicanery. I mean, it's absolutely nothing against Moose. It's just that Slater technically pulled down the title. And when you pull down the title, normally that means you win. But they came up with this nonsensical rule that you have to come down. You have to get off the structure, have both feet hit the floor, and hold on to the title. But no, this is how it is to be. They obviously want to have somebody beat Moose one-on-one, make it more impactful. I guess I can understand that. But for all intents and purposes, on my end, Leon Slater is the uncrowned X Division champion. And Thursday night, we have a special live edition of TNA Impact at a very special start time, 10 p.m. Eastern on Access TV and the TNA Plus app. So, great match, but a BS finish. 3.5, 3 3/4. MF, as far as I'm concerned, Leon Slater, the uncrowned X Division champion.
Yeah, I get it. I get why you would be a little mad about the outcome because but the thing was, Leon wasn't supposed to get the belt in the first place. So I understand why they tried to manipulate it in a way that to make it sound like, well, yeah, he got the belt, but the thing is that he never truly secured it. It's kind of like the hot potato type thing. If you remember, they did the same thing with Otis. Otis never really got his hands truly on the Money in the Bank until after the fact. It kind of fell to him, because if you remember, AJ was the one who actually initially got his hands on it before he fumbled it, and then it landed in the hands of Otis, and Otis ended up winning the Money in the Bank. So I mean, I get it. Plus it also started the narrative of the fact that, well, Moose was afraid of heights, so he couldn't really climb it that much. So it fit the narrative, but it also, in our eyes, it left a bitter taste in the mouth. But I do understand why they try to clean it up the best they could. But even then, it still was a mess because, like we said, Leon Slater wasn't supposed to get it. It was definitely a botch at the end. So, nothing more to say. Anthony, it's yours.
All right, MF. You'll lead off on our next match. Fatal 4-way match for the TNA Knockouts Tag Team Championships. The champions, Ash and Heather by Elegance. Defending against the Meta Girls of NXT, Jakara Jackson and Lash Legend. Former Knockout Tag Team Champions in their own right, Spitfire, Danny Luna, and Jody Threat. And also from NXT, Gigi Dolan and Tatum Paxley. The winners of the match, 9 minutes and 35 seconds. And still, the TNA Knockouts Tag Team Champions, Ash and Heather by Elegance. MF, your thoughts?
If you want to say right outcome, okay, I'll give you it. But I know a lot of people were pushing for the Meta Girls to win it because they like to see. And here's the interesting thing: because of this partnership between WWE and TNA, they like to see somebody from NXT walk away with the TNA Tag Team titles at some point, or any title at some point, just to spice it up a little bit. But I get why they did it by giving Ash by Elegance and Heather by Elegance the win, because they just recently won the belts. You don't want to have them lose the belts right away. But it does open the door for the Meta Girls to say, hey, we deserve another shot here. So we could see that down the line. But I thought it was a fine match. This was about maybe a 2.5-star bout. And Anthony, it's yours.
I'm going to give it a solid 3 for the effort here. All 4 teams tried, but this match was a mess. The titles didn't change hands, and I'm not surprised by that. And the finish of the match saw interference from Maggie Lee, which allowed Ash by Elegance to hit Jody Threat with rarefied air to score the pinfall for her team. So, solid 3 for the effort. And then we had a 6-man tag team matchup. Ace Austin, Trey Miguel, and Zachary Wentz with special corner man, 2-time WWE Hall of Famer, Sean X-Pac Waltman. And they squared off against 3 members of the system, Brian Myers, Eddie Edwards. Now, initially, it was supposed to be Johnny Dango Curtis, but Johnny Dango Curtis ran into some travel issues. So Moose had to pull double duty. So Moose teaming up with Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers against Ace Austin and the Rascals. Sean Waltman and Austin and Rascals corner. Of course, Alicia Edwards with the system. And the winners of the match in 11 minutes and 10 seconds, it was the Rascals and Ace Austin. Finish of the match saw Zachary Wentz hit the UFO cutter on Moose to score the pinfall win for his team. That suggests a championship committee moment because Moose is the X Division champion. So they could be pushing for Zachary Wentz to be the guy to dethrone him. Could happen. 3.25, 3.5 or so. This was a fun match. If you're a fan of D-Generation X like we are, I think you'll enjoy it even more. I do need to point out that midway through the match, there was some technical issues, but they did fix it. So, but from what I saw, it was a fun match. I'll give this about a solid 3.25 star bout. So there isn't much more to say on that. So MF, Zachary Wentz pinning the X Division champion Moose. Last time I checked, that's a championship committee moment right there.
It would. That definitely would yell championship committee. It was definitely a solid 3 is what I would say. The match was fine for what it was worth. But the outcome was really what we called it. We called this as the outcome. So really nothing more to say. Anthony, it's yours.
Yeah. So with that being said, MF, let's move on to our next match. TNA for the TNA intern for the first time ever. The TNA, the newly cemented TNA International Championship, the very first title defense from the new champion, from the inaugural champion, Steve Maclin. You remember he won it in the main event of the Unbreakable special a couple of weeks ago as part of WrestleMania week. He defended it against Eric Young. He had the Northern Armory in his corner, Judas Icarus and Travis Williams. And the winner of the match, 9 minutes and 25 seconds, and still the TNA International Champion. It is Steve Maclin. MF, no big surprise here. Maclin just won the title. That would have been a major disservice if they had dropped it after one defense.
Oh, absolutely. I think a lot of people would have been really pissed off at TNA. They would be like, why the hell would you do such a thing like that to especially to Steve Maclin? He just won the title. He deserves the moment in the sun. And thank God TNA did not pull the trigger and put the belt on Eric Young. Hopefully this is the end of the rivalry and that they move on with Maclin with somebody else. It was a fine match for what it was worth. This was about a 2.5 to 2.75. Anthony, it's yours.
Yeah, about 2.5 to 3. I agree with that. This was a solid match, but I feel like this story between Young and Maclin has gone on far too long. I'm with you there, MF. Maclin should have gotten his definitive win by now, but the finish of the match and the aftermath showed I don't think we're done yet. And I can't say I'm excited about them seeing them go at it again. Finish of the match saw Steve Maclin reverse Eric Young's pile driver into a roll-up to score the win. So 2.5 to 3. That's about right. Okay, we're going to have some fun with this one. Under Falls Count Anywhere rules, Mustafa Ali squaring off against Mike Santana, and the winner of the match in 19 minutes and 25 seconds, Mike Santana. The finish of the match saw Mike Santana hit Mustafa Ali with spin the block to score the win. There's no doubt about it. This was the fight of the night. I got to call fight of the night on this. This was easily 4.25, teetering on 4.5 stars. Easily the best thing on the show. And I hope TNA has Santana and Ali under long-term deals because they should be planning their future around these two guys. This match had a little bit of everything. Really fun stuff. So, and now Mike Santana can, move forward and maybe start pursuing the TNA World Heavyweight Championship down the road because I think they're grooming him to be the next champion down the line. So, incredible match. 4.25, teetering on 4.5. Fight of the night for me. Not much more to say. MF. Oh man, holy cow, what a match.
Yeah, no, this was an amazing matchup. There was really nothing more to say about it. They delivered. They delivered in spades. 4.25 stars for me. The match could not have gone any better. The outcome, I think we all could agree, was the right decision. Yeah, Anthony, you cannot say anything bad about this match. This was amazing. It's yours.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun watching that match the other night, I'll tell you.
Likewise.
All right. And then we saw the beautiful Gia Miller at ringside, and TNA has a new knockout. Indy Hartwell has signed with TNA Wrestling. She has crossed the line, boys. How about that? Indy Hartwell, now a TNA knockout. And let's not forget Steph DeLander, Persia Parada. Maybe we could see them have a run-in down the road. Oh, I could see it. And speaking of the knockouts championship on the line. The champion, Masha Slamovich, defending against Tessa Blanchard. By the way, this was the first of the triple main event, the first third of the triple main event. And the winner of the match in an even 14 minutes. I can't believe I'm saying this. And still the TNA Knockouts champion, Masha Slamovich. Masha retains the title. Let me just check one thing quick. MF, there's no question about it. The surprise of the pay-per-view, we all thought Tessa was going to win the title. No, Masha retains. Whoa.
Yeah, Masha retains, and I don't know if this was the right decision. Like, I get it. There's a lot of heat on Tessa. You don't want to get that kind of anger or ire from the fan base. But at some point, Masha's got to drop the belt, man. I don't know. This was the golden opportunity for Masha to lose it, and they don't pull the trigger. Look, I know Tessa Blanchard has rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. I know her antics and what she did in the past has drawn the ire of the IWC. I don't give a damn. Business is business, and in this day and age, sometimes you have a right to be forgiven for stuff that happened from years in the past. People, people have made mistakes and everything else, and if they have owned up to it, has apologized for it, and the whole 9 yards, then give them a freaking break. That's all I'm going to say about the whole situation. I understand why TNA did not want to pull the trigger because I think they're really nervous and afraid of doing it. Maybe they have somebody else that they could think of to do it, but I don't feel like this is the end of the storyline, though. Maybe they're waiting for a bigger event to pull the trigger and then maybe give Tessa the title then. But I don't know. I kind of feel like out of all the things that happen on this show, To me, this was the biggest swing and a miss of the night. I'm sorry, I'm not happy with the call. 3 stars, it was a fine match, but they got the decision wrong.
Okay. Usually when on this program, there have been many times where I would say something, Bullock would say something, and MF would play the devil's advocate here. It's not often that I do it, but I'm going to do it here tonight. Good match. But here's the thing. I think this was TNA's way of making Tessa eat the humble pie for a bit to make sure that she is committed to this company. Make sure she's going to stick around and not walk out on the company again. So that's the only thing I can really say about it. But yes, I do agree. It's an agree to disagree on this. I agree with MF that Tessa should have won the title here. It was tailor-made for Tessa to win the title here. But at the same time, I think TNA wants to humble her a bit, and make sure that, that she's gonna commit herself to this company. Yes, Bullet.
Yeah, and just to make a quick, I know this is a TNA event, but I want to chime in on it. And like you said, I think this is, and this is nothing against Tessa Blanchard. This is, I think, their way of trying to make her eat that slice of humble pie and make her say, hey, we want you to be committed to this company and don't pull any of this nonsense on. We want you to be committed to this company.
That's it.
That's it. That's all it is. I mean, it's nothing against her.
Not at all.
I mean, this is just their way of saying, look, we want you to be loyal to this company, and we want to make sure of it. And don't pull any of this nonsense, because if you try to, then bad things are going to happen.
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
I mean, I hope it works out, but we'll wait and see.
We will definitely keep an eye on it. Remember, we have a live Impact on Thursday night.
Yeah. So and I'm with you guys. I think Tessa should have won it, but again, I think this is just their way of making her eat that slice of humble pie and say,
make her earn it.
Hey, you're not above this company. We're gonna make sure you're loyal to this company, and don't make sure that you pull any nonsense that's gonna make, or that you leave this company again like you did before.
Fair enough. So with that, we move on. 3.5 stars is my rating for the match. So TNA World Tag Team Championship on the line next. The champions, Matt and Jeff Hardy, the Hardys, defending against Nick and Ryan Nemeth. And the winners of the match in an even 12 minutes. And new TNA World Tag Team Champions, Nick and Ryan Nemeth. Match was fine, but the finish was booked for cheap heat and just came across as more stupid than anything else. Finish of the match saw Nick Nemeth hit Danger Zone on Jeff Hardy. Ryan Nemeth tags himself in to score the pinfall win. Yes, Ryan Nemeth can call himself a champion. Yes, he can. So, fine match, yes. But the finish clearly booked for cheap heat and just came across as more stupid than anything else. I mean, I honestly thought the Hardys had a small chance of retaining because of the whole compound thing when the Nemeth stole the titles. But no, they still put the titles on them. So there you have it. This is about another 3.25 star bout. So not much more to say. MF, new TNA World Tag Team Champions, Nick and Ryan Nemeth. How about it?
Yeah, we kind of, in a way, called this. We didn't really think that anything was going to be anything on this one. But, history being made. We can't call him President crowning because there was a little bit of some chicanery at the end. But still, crowning of new tag team champions, I'm good with it. I'm happy for him. Congratulations. Nothing more to say, Florio, go.
All right, MF, and it's main event time. Triple threat match for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. The champion, Joe Hendry, defending against Frankie Kazarian. This was his Call His Shot Gauntlet Championship bout after he won the Call Your Shot Gauntlet trophy back in October at Bound for Glory. And also against NXT's Ethan Page. And the winner of the match in 13 minutes and 40 seconds. Excuse me. And still, the TNA World Heavyweight Champion, Joe Hendry. But after the match was over, we had an uninvited guest. Trick Williams lays out Joe Hendry with a trick shot. We'll have more on that when we do our NXT review in a little while. So, yeah, not much more to say. MF, Joe Hendry, still the TNA World Heavyweight Champion, successfully defends in 13 minutes and 40 seconds. Celebration short-lived. He got laid out by Trick Williams. Whoop that trick.
Yeah, and that's exactly what he did. Trick Williams crossed the line, went into the enemy territory, and laid out the reigning champion. And it was because, if you remember, on NXT, it was actually Joe Hendry showing up uninvited on NXT, showed up uninvited, and kind of told Trick Williams to step aside. I got business to deal with your champion. And Trick probably did not like that one bit. It's like, wait a minute, you MFer. You're in my house disrespecting me? No. I'm going to your house and I'm beating your ass right before your very eyes. And that was the lasting image we got. Joe Hendry laid out by a trick shot by Trick Williams, and basically Trick igniting a hostile takeover that night. NXT basically hostile took over on TNA, and basically, if there was a shot over the bowel, that was it, folks. TNA fans were not happy. NXT fans were yelling, "Whoop that Trick!" the whole night home. The internet was definitely feasting on this one, and people were thinking Trick Williams versus Joe Hendry, shut up and take my money. Yeah, that was a good matchup. Solid main event, 3 stars. The outcome was never in doubt. I was a little surprised Joe Hendry won. Over the fact that there were talk about him being injured, that maybe they might drop the belt, and sure enough, he actually pulled a fast one and took it out. So nothing more to say. And yeah, Anthony, it's back to
you.
Whoa, we just lost him.
Yeah, we lost MF.
Well, and there's another reason why Trick Williams got his revenge, because, well, it's not just because of what Joe Hendry said, what I felt about Trick Williams.
Yes, I see it in the
that he is nothing more than a whiny bitch.
Yep, that's exactly what Joe Hendry said about Trick Williams on last week's NXT.
And did Trick Williams get hurt about it? Well, too bad, so sad.
Yeah, well, guess what? Too bad your boy just got kneed in the effing face like he deserved it.
Well, if he can't take the heat, then get out of the damn kitchen.
Don't start a fight. You can't finish, Bullock. You showed up on NXT in enemy camp, disrespect Trick Williams, and you didn't think that was gonna get an answer back? Hell no. Trick basically sent the warning. The next time you get in my business, that's gonna happen. You got what you deserve. You walked into my house, uninterrupted what I was doing.
Joe Hendry was telling the truth, because wait a minute, this is not the same Trick Williams that I partnered with back.
Yeah. But the thing is that sometimes you know, and if
Because
you
he knows
notice,
the Trick Williams. This is a different Trick Williams. He's because
yeah,
you saw him when he freaking. I mean, especially after when he called him a whiny bitch. What did he do? He threw a freaking temper tantrum to the point where Ava basically pulled a Michael Wilbon and said, "Get out."
yeah.
We will
So
have plenty
So
more on this later.
it wasn't just Joe Henry that he angered. He also angered Ava, and that is the last person who you want to
that
f and mess around
now
with.
the thing is that with Ava, no doubt about it, that's one you cannot mess with. Authority figure. You don't push the buttons on the GM of NXT. We'll definitely get into it.
Yeah, I was
But
gonna
as
say
far as Trick Williams goes,
we'll
as
get into
far
it
as what
more
Trick Williams did,
we'll get into
no,
it more when we talk
but
about it when it
again,
comes to NXT.
but again, referring this to the TNA. All right, so let me refer to this from the TNA. An eye for an eye. You showed up in my house. You disrespected me in that house. I'm going to yours and I'm breaking the door down. So no, man, I definitely understand. You can say whatever you want to say about Trick Williams, but what he did to me, perfectly fine. I had no issue with what he did. That I call it an eye for an eye. People's done worse in their day. Call Trick what you want, but he had every right to do what he did to the TNA World Champ.
I call it storyline progression.
Absolutely, that
That's what
too.
I call it. So, but it is what it is. So with that being said, let's and for me, I'm going to give it about 3.5 stars for the effort. That was a solid 3. That was about a 3.25, 3.5 on that one. So as far as what happened here, this was about a 7.5 out of 10 for me. It was an up and down show all the way through. Enjoyable for the most part. Now, some of the creative decisions I thought were stupid. Leon Slater, but that's besides the point. And because of some of these questionable booking decisions, I can't go any higher than 7.5. TNA is capable of much more than what they are putting out, but I don't think their current creative and management teams know what they're doing right now. Like I said, we have a live Impact coming up on Thursday night, special start time, 10 p.m. Eastern on Access TV and the TNA Plus app. So we shall see how that plays out. So we'll and MF and I will address that on Friday night when we do the Cerebral Smack Talk. But for right now, this is a 7.5 out of 10 for me. MF, your overall thoughts on Rebellion, and then we'll get into Monday Night Raw.
Solid 7, no doubt about it. Florio is yours.
All right. So with that being said, let's dive on into Monday Night Raw, gentlemen. 1 week after an explosive Raw after WrestleMania, one of the best in years, WWE rolled into the T-Mobile Center in Kansas City, Missouri, with a show featuring Seth Rollins, Paul Heyman, and Braun Breaker, plus a showdown between Rhea Bloody Ripley and the prodigy Roxanne Perez. What went down? How did each match and segment rate? And what did it mean for the superstars involved? Find out now with this recap of Monday Night Raw for This Is Ridiculously Raw. Monday Night Raw live last night, of course, from the aforementioned T-Mobile Arena or T-Mobile Center in Kansas City, Missouri, or as I like to say, Kansas City, Missouri. And we started off with an in-ring segment. The future of pro wrestling and WWE runs through Seth Rollins. The winner of the WrestleMania 41 Night 1 main event informed fans at the top of the show. But then they were interrupted by Sami Zayn. The underdog from the underground criticized Rollins by claiming the collection of supporters he is insulating himself with is no different than what Roman Reigns did with the Bloodline, and he suggested that Rollins was jealous of CM Punk. Denouncing Zayn's claims, Rollins told the former Intercontinental Champion that he had until the end of the night to decide whether he is buying into what the group are selling or if he needs to leave for Friday Night SmackDown. This was a solid enough segment, setting up a storyline for the rest of the show, and putting Sami Zayn, one of the great sympathetic babyfaces in WWE history, in a position where he had to make a decision that could change his career. Rollins said the future of this industry runs through Seth freaking Rollins. And Zayn said maybe you just wanted to be in the position that they were in. Zayn told Rollins, claiming jealousy drove his hatred of Reigns and Punk. And Rollins said to Sami, you're clearly not buying into what we're selling, so maybe we can cash you out. It's not a threat, it's an offer. And later in the show, there was a backstage moment with Sami Zayn and Paul Heyman, and Paul Heyman laid out a sweet offer to Sami Zayn. Leave Raw, go to SmackDown. You'll be on the SmackDown roster effective this Friday night. And if you do that, you will get the first shot at either John Cena or Randy Orton for the undisputed WWE Championship. A sweet deal for Sami to think about. And they said that he had until the end of the show to think about it. So that's the story on that. Solid enough segment, like I said. It set up a hook for the rest of the show. And it put Sami, like I said, in a position where he had to make a decision that could change his career. So, yes, indeed. Breaking news from the NBA. Michael Bullock's Boston Celtics, one step closer to successfully defending their NBA championship as they smashed the Orlando Magic 120-89 this evening. And the Boston Celtics are moving on to the second round of the NBA playoffs, where they will await either the New York Knicks or the Detroit Pistons. And that series got extended tonight. Time permitting, we'll get into the Celtics chat for you, Bullock. So we'll try to get through this as quickly as we can. So excuse me. So for right now, solid opening segment here. So not much more to say, MF. One thing I couldn't help but notice, but then again, one thing that Bullock and I couldn't help but notice when we did our Raw chat last night, we couldn't help but notice that even though they turned Seth Rollins heel, the fans are still cheering for him. They're still singing his song in the whole 9 yards. So very interesting to say the very least. So, but nonetheless, MF, your thoughts on the opening segment? Sami Zayn.
There's nothing interesting you need to know, Florio. He's still over. There is this connect, this thing where there's no more. The gray area is more grayer than ever before. You're starting to see guys who you're supposed to hate, you're supposed to boo, you're supposed to get anything, and they're getting the love, the admiration, the respect. And you know why? Because these are real wrestling fans. They're not manufactured. They're not of the McMahon era. That's why you're getting what you're getting. Because they actually have a voice. They actually use their minds. They're not puppets. They're not sheep. They're not idiots. That's what you think you get from the old WWE. No, the reason why you see what you get is what was happening last night. It happened at WrestleMania when Dominic Mysterio got cheered by over 60,000 people. And we were wondering, why the hell did this happen? Because people will gravitate to actual talent. That's why. Why did they boo Cody Rhodes? Because they were sick and tired of the narrative of people shoving a guy like him down our effing throats. Why did they boo Bianca? Same damn reason. Anthony Florio, you know this better than anybody else. That this is why. You're wondering, why the hell is people still cheering for Seth freaking Rollins? Because they freaking can. That's why. So, Seth Rollins it's gonna play the Messiah role again. He's gonna be that Monday Night Messiah that you're gonna hate his guts, and you can see the Triad of Terror. That's what they're being called right now. Is the Triad of Terror, which is Braun Breaker, Seth Rollins, and Paul Heyman. That's going to be your little landscape. That's going to be the layout, what you're going to get. And Sami Zayn, being the first guy, I think it's the perfect guy to say the very least. Now, obviously, the end game is going to be eventually Roman Reigns and CM Punk. But at some point, you got to kind of find a roadmap somewhere that's going to lead us to Roman, to Punk, and to have that brawl happen. Some people thought it should have happened already and should have happened at Backlash, but apparently they're not going to pull the trigger just yet. There's a way to get there. Maybe they might be saving it for SummerSlam. Maybe they're saving it for Saudi Arabia. Maybe they're saving it for Money in the Bank. I don't know. But right now, this is the perfect guy to lead in because Jamie hasn't been seen since his match, that non-sanctioned match, at Chamber. So I'm glad he came back. I'm glad he's healthy. I'm glad he looks great. And we just got to wait and see how this plays out down the line. But right now, I got really nothing more to say. Michael Bullock, it's yours.
I mean, what else is there to say? I mean, yeah, I mean, and there's another name I've also heard being thrown around when it comes to this group, Fletch. Some are calling it the Dangerous Alliance 2.0.
Yeah.
That's what I've been hearing too.
New Evolution, Dangerous Alliance 2.0, Triad of Terror.
I mean, yeah. I'd be fine with either one of those. I mean, but either way, I think this is a group that we need to take seriously. And yeah, and like you said, I mean, even with, I mean, Seth, I mean, they're still chanting his name. They're still doing the usual stick. But I'm going to tell you, Fletch, something right here, right now. And remember what you just said, how he's going to be like the Monday Night Messiah again?
Yeah.
I think he's going to do stuff that's going to make...
Really?
Good night.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just my dad when talking about the Celtics winning. So, yeah. But what I was getting to was I think Seth Rollins is going to do whatever he can to make people hate him. He's going to do some things that's going to make the fans turn on him.
Yeah.
That's why I think he's going to... I mean, they may be cheering him right now, but I think as time goes on, I think he's going to do some things that's going to make the fans turn on him. I don't know.
And you notice during the promo, you notice how the fans kind of turned on CM Punk too. They actually started booing Punk initially, and then there was a few fans that started yelling CM Punk, CM Punk. The only one that did that they did not boo was Roman. When he referenced Roman Reigns, the ones went up and the OTC chant started.
He's too over.
Yeah, Roman's too over.
Yeah, so
Punk, I was a little surprised that they booed him at first, and I'm like, whoa.
But all in all, I think you need to give it some time here. I mean, I think, like I said, Seth's going to do something that's going to make the fans turn on him. I don't know what it is, but he's going to do it. So we'll see how it all plays out. But this is a good start to this. So I really got nothing more to say. It's yours, Florio.
All right. And we move on to our first match of the night. And how about this, guys? What a way to start off the matches portion of the show. In a dream match between two of the best in the world today, Rhea Ripley squared off with former NXT Women's Champion Roxanne Perez. And Rhea Ripley wins the match via disqualification in 11 minutes and 50 seconds because of Roxanne Perez's newfound friend and newfound partner, Julia. Oh, yeah, Julia's turned heel. And if you allow me to play devil's advocate on this one, a heel Julia, you already know how much I love Julia before, but her as a heel, yeah. Oh, yeah. I will definitely take that. Sign me up for that. And an alliance with her and Roxanne, that could be something. But in the grand scheme of things, as I give it to MF to start it off on this, the match gets thrown out, DQ in 11:50. But let's look at the big picture when it comes to the Raw Women's Division. Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, Julia, Stephanie Vacour, Roxanne Perez. Can you smell it, MF? It smells like it smells like another women's evolution to me.
It's getting there, no doubt about it. And then if you go over to the SmackDown side, yeah, there is a women's evolution possibly happening. You can feel it. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how they play this. It's going to be a very wild time. And you notice more NXT women infiltrating on Monday Night Raw. So, I mean, it's definitely getting there. We'll see how it plays out, but no doubt about it. And yeah, this was a solid matchup. 3 stars, and they needed it to protect Roxanne Perez. That's why the DQ finish happened. They didn't want to bury her because of it's Roxanne Perez. They see her as a viable commodity for the future of the women's division. They really see her as a megastar in the near future. She's only 22 years old, boys, and she's doing it at this high of a level. Dude, Roxanne Perez is going to be a monster for the next 10 to 15 years. No doubt about it. So I understand why they didn't want her to take the brutal loss to Rhea Ripley. So, yeah, nothing more to say. Bullock, it's yours. 3 stars.
Yeah, I'm going to give it 3 stars as well. I mean, like you said, if it wasn't for the DQ finish, I would have given it 3 1/4. But it's still a good match until the ending. And how odd is this, guys? I mean, it wasn't that long ago when Julia ended the reign of Roxanne Perez in her NXT Women's title, and now here it is, however many months later, and it seems like they formed some kind of alliance. I mean, what would you have told me back then when these two were butting heads?
I would have said probably no. I probably would have said no chance.
I don't think it would have happened, but it seems they have formed some kind of alliance, and now taking it out on Rhea Ripley and of course Io Sky. That's one tandem I'm sure you don't want to mess around with, especially Rhea Bloody Ripley. And yeah, we'll see where this goes. So there's really nothing more for me to say. 3 stars, but the DQ took something away from it. So it's yours, Florio.
Yeah, 3 to 3 1/4 stars. This was a strong match between 2 immensely talented performers. And while it may not have had a suitable finish, it did further a blossoming rivalry involving standard bearers for excellence across the company's 3 women's divisions. More importantly, it creates intrigue surrounding Rhea Ripley and Io Sky's ability to get along when Rhea Ripley is chasing Io and the Women's World Championship. Not just me, but all of us. I don't think any of us had Julia and Roxanne Perez as a new duo on Monday Night Raw on the bingo card. But how can anyone complain about having two of the best women's wrestlers on the planet on Monday Night Raw? The inevitable tag team or four-way bout is going to be straight fire. There is no doubt about it. And according to some dirt sheets, they're reporting that Roxanne Perez and Julia are officially main roster bound. They're officially under the Raw banner, in which, whoa, business just picked up in our women's division. No doubt about that. So sign me up, please. Yes, sir. I'll take another women's evolution anytime. So you put Ripley.
That's a yeet on that one.
Yeet indeed. Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, Stephanie Vacour, Julia, and Roxanne Perez. Like I said, that smells like a women's evolution to me. So 3 to 3.25. I was going to give it 3.5, but I'm going to bump it down to 3 to 3.25 because of the DQ finish. We do frown upon it, even though it did make sense. Like MF said, they were protecting Roxanne. So there's not much to say about that. All right. We had another in-ring segment. On the heels of a victory over AJ Styles at WrestleMania, Logan Paul took to the ring to make his future intentions clear. He wants the first shot at Jey Uso and the World Heavyweight Championship. Jey Uso interrupted and said he was not going to hand over the title after years of hard work to an entitled YouTuber. Paul claimed the champion would lose the world title quicker than he lost the Intercontinental Championship. And Uso answered with a super kick that left Logan Paul lying to close out the segment. There was one thing of note. There was a special moment. There was a little boy in the crowd in the front row. He had a sign that said "Yeet for Cancer," and Jey Uso gave him his Yeet sunglasses. So special moment.
Wicked cool move by Jey Uso, man. That's one of those that you tip your cap to the champ, man. That was really cool. Well done, bro.
Now that is worthy of a yeet.
Yeet. So there isn't much more to say. Michael Bullock, you started off. It's looking like it's official for Backlash, boys. Jey Uso will make his first defense of his newly won World Heavyweight Championship against Logan Paul. How do we feel about it?
Yeah, and I'm definitely up for that. And yeah, like, I mean, you could just see when it came to Jey Uso. I mean, he even said, "Hey, I worked so hard to finally earn this title, and you want me to hand this to you? I mean, a YouTuber? No." And here's a little reminder to you, Logan Paul. You'll have to earn your way to winning a championship. You can't just expect somebody to hand it to you on a silver platter like you're some spoiled entitled brat. And I think he's going to get his opportunity at Backlash. So, yeah, if you think you're gonna win it that easy, nah. I mean, especially with this side of Jey Uso that we haven't seen, and especially, and like we said, the wake up call came the moment when Gunther literally dismantled Jimmy Uso, and we all saw the end result at WrestleMania. So if Logan Paul thinks this is going to be very easy, well, he's about to find out. He's about to find out the hard way. So, yeah, there's really nothing more to say. And yeah, that was a great moment there with that young boy beating cancer or basically with that Yeet for Cancer sign and just giving. Now, this is what you like to see when it comes to WWE, when they reach out in the community, especially for something like this.
Absolutely.
I mean, we've seen it in so many different ways, especially not just with John Cena and the whole Make-A-Wish Foundation, but you see other superstars stepping up in this kind of a role, especially going to hospitals and visiting kids or other people who are going through cancer. So, major props to you, Jey Uso. So, nothing more to say. It is yours, Florio.
Logan Paul, like it or not, I'll say it like this: like it or not, Logan Paul, in my opinion, is the perfect first opponent for Jey Uso because he is no threat to the champion's popularity and can lose a match without losing heat. He is a consummate heel who will always enrage fans and be an effective villain as a result. Jey Uso beating him at Backlash or a premium live event allows him to build momentum early in his title run and move on to the feuds that will ultimately define his reign. It also keeps him away from Seth Rollins, who I believe would seem to be the end game for Jey Uso at some point this summer. Maybe SummerSlam. I don't know. Jey Uso showed great fire and intensity here. More importantly, he made it clear the new side of himself is not going away just because he beat Gunther. And whereas last week he looked nervous, Jey Uso appeared much more at home in his role as the top dog on Raw last night. So another solid segment here. So MF, Jey Uso, Logan Paul, World Heavyweight Championship at Backlash. How about it?
Yeah, no, I think they did a really good job with it. It was a solid segment, no doubt about it. I can't wait to see what they do. And like you said, the perfect first opponent because, like you said, Jey Uso will not be will not be in any danger here. But it's also going to be good for Logan Paul too because that's another high profile fight that he's going to get. Because remember, he had a big fight with Roman Reigns. People thought, oh my God, this is going to be a train wreck and the whole 9 yards. And it ended up being a damn good match between Roman Reigns and Logan Paul. So I think Logan and Jey might actually surprise a few people. I'd probably say maybe sleeper fight of the night, too. You never know. So, Florio, it's yours.
All right. Moving on to our next match. Well, we all remember this. So we saw this tag team rivalry develop late last year, right around Christmas time. The War Raiders, Eric and Ivar versus Finn Balor and the returning JD McDonough. They had Carlito in their corner. And the winners of the match, in 10 minutes and 35 seconds, the War Raiders win the match. But they didn't do it by themselves. They had a little help. They had help from Penta. Evening the score with JD McDonough after JD McDonough cost Penta an opportunity at the Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship 1 week ago against Dominic Mysterio. So give it about 3 3.25 here. What was an otherwise action-packed showdown came to a screeching halt when Penta shoved JD McDonough off the top rope, setting him up to endure the War Machine and leaving Eric and Ivar to remain top contenders for the New Day and the World Tag Team Championship. Solid match, including the latest in Penta's budding rivalry with the Judgment Day, made this a worthwhile addition to the show. Bonus points for the New Day's excellence on commentary, where Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston had some killer lines. And I thought Kofi was excellent on commentary, giving props to Eric, Ivar, and McDonough for all returning from career-threatening injuries while sniping at Big E without saying his name. And then Kofi and Xavier asked Michael Cole and Pat McAfee if they wanted to see the Judgment Day as champions again, just so they could not defend them for 70 days. Clear shot at when Judgment Day had that long title run with only a handful of defenses. And Penta is clearly en route to a rivalry with the Judgment Day, but could it result in a reunion with Rey Fenix and a showdown with Finn Balor and JD McDonough? Maybe down the road. I don't know. But the only thing I do know is that next Monday night on Raw, guest general manager Nick Aldis, yes, you heard me right, Nick Aldis, he filled in as general manager for Adam Pearce. And Nick Aldis made a match for next week on Raw. Penta will go one-on-one with JD McDonough. That's a low-key banger right there, folks. So 3.25 for this bout. So MF, your thoughts? War Raiders defeating Balor and McDonough in 10:35 because of Penta.
Yeah, solid matchup, everything else. Boy, did I flip out as the heel commentator when Penta did what he did. Anthony Florio knows where I was going with that. It was. This is one of those where this time I went full Jesse the Body Ventura on this one. But it was funny. It was worth the while. Yeah, I would say about 3. Nothing more to say. Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, I would give this about 3 as well. I mean, yeah, now the War Raiders, get their opportunity to try to regain the World Tag Team titles. But yeah, JD McDonough and the rest of the Judgment Day, they're wanting payback on Penta for what he did. So, and JD McDonough, like you said, will get his opportunity next week at Penta. So we'll see what happens with that. So it's yours, Florio.
All right. Next up was, now I'll tell you what, this was a promo heavy show last night. We had a lot of promo segments last night. And here's another one. On the heels of her shocking actions toward women's Intercontinental Champion Lyra Valkyria, Becky Lynch spoke to the WWE Universe last night. She admitted it was she, Becky Lynch, it was her, who attacked Bayley, leaving her unable to compete at WrestleMania. She blamed the role model for attacking her for years, since 2019, and claimed she tried to convince Lyra Valkyria to drop her, but she would not listen. This drew out Lyra, who refused to admire Becky Lynch and issued a challenge for a match at Backlash for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. All right, MF. You mentioned it just a few moments ago about being the heel commentator, complaining about Penta's interference and all that. But as the heel commentator of this, I know you were eating up every second of Becky Lynch, including angry Becky Lynch. I mean, we've seen her angry, but I don't think I've ever seen her
to the point
angry.
like what we saw last night.
No, and the thing was that it was perfect. And the thing is, she tried to validate why she attacked Bayley, and for the most part, she got away with it. A lot of people actually was sympathizing with Becky Lynch until Lyra came out. And the thing was, Lyra, I gotta give it to this girl. This was her best promo ever. She felt convincing. She felt amazing. For me, Lyra Valkyria, there's been a couple of even some of the guys who are saying that she's a little shaky on the mic. I'm not really convinced about her, her microphone skills. That got eliminated last night. This was Lyra's moment, and she took it and ran with it, boys. She absolutely did an amazing job. To me, this was her personal best commentary, promo wise, for Lyra Valkyria to go up with the man Becky Lynch and to spar with her in that battle, dude. Great job by Lyra Valkyria, and she won me over as a fan last night. I loved her because of her in-ring abilities, because she's amazing in the ring. Like I said, I was a little nervous about her promoing with Becky Lynch, because Becky will devour her. She would destroy her in any other time. Except last night, she went toe-to-toe with the man, and relatively speaking, he actually came out on top over the man, especially in the promo. He actually was better than Becky in the promo, and that even opened my eyes to Lyra Valkyria. The Valkyrie has grown in leaps and bounds, boys, and he did good. He absolutely did really good with this. So, Michael Bullock, it's yours.
And we couldn't believe Becky's anger last night, Bullock, during our Raw chat.
Yeah, we and like we said, we've seen her angry before, but not to the lengths that what we saw last night. I mean, holy smokes, that was. I don't think I've ever seen Becky go off the way she did, and like you said, it was all because of Bailey, and like you said, that's the reason why she jumped her, and because of the previous attacks. I mean, going back to their rivalry, I think it was in the going throughout
2019.
yeah
He
throughout late
referenced it.
2022 into 2023.
Yeah, she referenced it.
Yeah, and she tried to warn Lyra about it, and she didn't listen. And because I mean, because now she was starting to believe everything that Bailey was being sympathetic and that she's a different person, while Becky's like, no, 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 no. She's the same person that I was rivals with from 2002 into the early 2003. That she'll do anything to get to the top. So, and that's why, because Lyra aligned with her, that's why Becky attacked her. So, and like you said, this was Lyra's best promo, and you could just see the fire and the passion coming out of her. So, yeah, we'll see what happens here. I mean, especially now that this match is official. And Anthony Florio said that he thinks that this is where Lyra's run comes to an end.
I disagree.
But
I
hold
think,
on,
Anthony,
I
you're
was just
wrong.
about to say. I was just about to say
I
the
think
same
you're
thing,
wrong.
Fletch. That I don't see it happening, and you want to know why, Fletch?
Why is that?
Because
you thinking the
Bailey
same-
will show up and screw over Becky Lynch.
I can see it. I can see it.
So,
And I told you this, Florio.
yeah.
I told you this during our chat, and you kept saying, "I just don't see it. I think Lyra's going to drop the belt to Becky." But
The thing is, I hate to say it, but I think the women's Intercontinental title is beneath Becky Lynch. Don't get me wrong.
and that's the other thing too.
That's true.
I mean, the women's Intercontinental Championship is far beyond her level.
And the thing is, normally the Intercontinental is supposed to be a stepping stone to the big belt. So a person like Lyra is perfect for that title. Just like how on SmackDown, when Zelina won the United States title, it's perfect for her.
Definitely.
This will
And
build.
this is why both GMs brought these secondary belts, so that these women can say, hey, we won a singles title. Because for a long time, Zelina Vega, she's been a singles competitor. Yes, she won a tag title, but what was the one thing she never won?
She never won a championship.
Singles title
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
until Friday night.
And this was perfect for Lyra when it comes to the women's Intercontinental title. So, to me, and like you just said, Fletch, the women's Intercontinental title is far beyond her. Because it's either the women's world title or
The WWE Women's
the women's
Championship.
tag team title. That's it.
So
and Zelina was also Queen of the Ring too. So
yes,
So I get where you're coming with, Florio. I know what you're trying to say, but and it's not just because of what we just mentioned, but I think this is also where Bailey returns and gets her payback.
I didn't even think about that. So
because I think that's why they're holding it off, because a lot of people are, and I get it. The WWE universe is really pissed off at Triple H and the creative because of the fact that Bailey got left off at WrestleMania.
for Becky.
And I mean, a lot of people were pissed.
Oh yeah.
So, and the thing is, Triple H was like, guys,
She'll be fine.
relax. Don't worry. We got this. We hear you. We understand it. But you got to put faith in us. Trust us. We know what we're doing. And obviously, I think this is one of the times where I'm starting to see it. And even Michael Bullock caught it. And I think I'm like, you know what? I think Hunter's right. Bailey is going to be just fine.
Exactly. And this is why why people like why they go after Triple H. Though I think it's more the quote unquote AEW sickos or marks.
No, there's been some IWC fans and there's been some WWE
maybe some
marks
other
that's gone
IWC.
after Triple H. There's been a few people that's been going after Triple H lately. They're coming a little more harder at him because of certain things that they saw. Pertain.
But my message to them: look, Triple H is not going to be perfect. As long as he doesn't have the same things like that other guy that used to do, the one that used to run creative.
Yeah.
Need I say more?
No.
So everybody just needs to chill out and lay off of Triple H. Exactly. I mean, the man knows what he's doing. Is he going to make mistakes? Of course he is.
He's human.
He's not perfect. We don't expect things to be perfect all the time. He's going to have some bumps some at times. As long as you limit it, I'm okay with it.
We'll see.
And I think he's playing this perfectly with this.
Agreed. I'll tell you what. This was the right direction to head with the man. She held Bayley accountable for her previous actions while also being an insufferable heel who propped herself up as a bigger star and seemed to take great pride in her attack. Like the guy said, Lyra Valkyria shined here in a rare opportunity for her to cut a lengthy, meaningful promo on an opponent. She weathered the infamous "what" chants nicely and had the fans on her side by the end of it. A huge test she passed with flying colors. The match between her and Becky for the Women's Intercontinental Championship at Backlash in St. Louis on May 10th should be extraordinary if they are given time to tell their story. Becky said there won't be any murder mystery whodunit before admitting her guilt in the pre-WrestleMania attack on Bayley. Lyra said, "I know exactly what you are. The illusion of Becky Lynch is dead." And Becky also said the man only wrestles when it matters, and it does not matter here in Kansas City. And Lyra also said, I'm no longer interested in being the next Becky Lynch. I am Lyra Valkyria, and I'm going to be a better person than you. And I already know that I'm a better wrestler than you.
That was the moment that won me over, and definitely won me over to Lyra, was that comment that she made, because there was a lot of people that was comparing her as the next Becky Lynch. And when she said that comment, even because I was on the Discord chat with a few of my friends, and we all were like, wow, let's go.
We've been waiting for this from her. We needed to see like this, the fire, the passion when it comes to this. And
the Valkyrie finally showed up. The Valkyrie came out. The Valkyrie side of Lyra came out. And I gotta admit, I liked it.
So Becky,
I liked it. That's what we needed.
So Becky, you may have started something that you might not be able to finish. Because the thing is, if you think that you're gonna be a pushover on Lyra Valkyria, no.
If you're thinking it's gonna be easy pickings, then it's not.
Yeah, it ain't gonna be easy pickings for Becky Lynch.
But I mean, it's Becky Lynch bullock, so I mean,
I know
Loyal
that, but I'm just saying
could be right. Loyal could be right, and we could have a new Intercontinental Champion, but we'll see.
We got to watch out for Bayley.
But she may have lit a fire in Lyra that she probably should have kept out.
Well, we'll see.
And let's not forget, Lyra Valkyria holds a victory over Becky Lynch previously. Who took the NXT Women's Championship from Becky Lynch?
It was her.
And I remember going into that match. You two guys, you had your doubts, but I was the only one who felt in my heart that Lyra was going to win that night. And lo and behold, she did.
She did.
So
It's
I
kind
remember
of
that beat.
weird. Now, wait a minute. That's interesting because now you're going completely opposite. Now you're thinking Becky's going to win it while me and Bullock are going with Lyra
Because
Valkyria? That's
only reason why-
interesting. I just thought of that. That's
The only reason
interesting.
I smell a flip flop here.
The only reason why,
Oh, hey, wait a minute, Bullock. Don't do that now.
the only reason why, the
I
only
mean,
reason
come
why,
on, Florio first. I mean, he went with well.
No,
The
he
only reason
did,
why
but
I was-
don't. But that's a little bit of a serious accusation to throw flip flop around. That's not something you take lightly. Let's say that.
let me just say this. The only reason why I was initially going with Becky was because of, the main, because this is the main roster. This is not NXT. But and Lyra's had a good 3.5 month plus reign with the belt. But now, after what MF threw out there, I forgot about Bayley. I didn't even think about Bayley. And
Wait a minute, Florio. I mentioned it to you when we did our chat.
yeah, it slipped my mind. I'm not perfect. I'm like Triple H. I'm not perfect. But I'm human. Even I make mistakes at times. And I apologize for that. So I would not at all be surprised if Bayley does show up at Backlash. If Bayley does show up, there's no doubt about it. Lyra's going over.
But if you're right on this, you know what? I'll eat that slice of humble pie and enjoy it.
And MF made it. And MF made the other big point. The Women's Intercontinental Championship is, with all due respect, below Becky Lynch. Because Becky Lynch is, a main eventer. So, but I'll admit it, dipsy do botcheroo on my part. And I'll try my best not to let anything like that happen again. So, keyword, I'll try my best. Keywords. So, all right. So, with that being said, let's move on now to our next match. Oh boy! I mean, a big night for MF. I mean, first we got Becky Lynch, and now we got his current. We got his current favorite now in the women's division. For the second week in a row, we get a match featuring the NXT Women's Champion La Primera Stephanie Vaquer in a non-title match against American Maids Ivy Nile, Chad Gable in Ivy's corner. Winner of the match, 9 minutes and 35 seconds. No big surprise. It was La Primera, Stephanie Vaquer. I believe this goes to Bullock. So, Michael Bullock, 2 weeks in a row, your NXT Women's Champion, making a big impression on the main roster on Monday Night Raw. Last week against Io, last night against Ivy Nile, and now I'm going to bring up another point from our Raw chat last night. This time, something I said to you. I don't think it's going to be long before Stephanie Vaquer is main roster bound, because you could put her on the main roster right now and she would fit on that like a damn glove.
Oh yeah, definitely. But the thing that they have to do is for her to drop the belt. It's not, and I think as of right now, I think it's too soon. I mean, it's not a matter of if she's going to drop it; it's just a matter of when. And I think when that happens, she will be main roster bound, no doubt about it. So I'm going to give this about maybe 3 stars. I mean, another good showing from Stephanie Vaquer, and now against someone like Ivy Nile. I mean, that was really impressive. I mean, so there's really nothing more to say. So, like you said, Florio, 2 for 2 for Stephanie on Monday Night Raw.
This did not appear to be the beginning of a rivalry of any kind, but rather an excuse to keep Stephanie Vaquer on television and in front of the WWE audience. She is a star of the immediate future, so it makes sense that the creative team would want her on as many of the company's TV properties as possible. And based on the reaction for her in Kansas City, it is working. Expect the NXT Women's Champion to be a member of the main roster sooner rather than later. Stephanie Vacour is a star now. In an age where the word aura is thrown around haphazardly, she has it in spades, and it translates no matter which audience, developmental or main roster, she performs for. Chad Gable saved the match more than once for Ivy Nile, providing a distraction for his protege and helping her to evade defeat. And say what you want about Ivy Nile, but I'm going to be honest with you. Last night, I believe, was arguably the best Ivy Nile looked in months. She hung in there with an elite opponent and never looked out of place against Stephanie Vacour. Solid 3 stars for the effort on this one. So not much more to say. MF, I just gave your girl her flowers. What says you?
God, man, the Dark Angel herself, La Panera, she is becoming slowly but surely. Now the rest of the world is starting to see what I've seen in Mexico from AAA, from CMLL. There was a brief little period where you got to see her in AEW when she was with Mercedes Moné. But the thing is that you're starting to see what I have seen this whole time. She is without a doubt one of the best female wrestlers in the world, and now she's proven it. And then some. So yeah, this was a solid matchup. This was a solid battle. There's really nothing more to add. And Anthony, this was well done to say the very least. So yeah, 3 stars. It's yours.
All right. And all right, then there was a backstage moment. Like I said, Nick Aldis filling in as general manager for Adam Pearce. He was our guest general manager for the night. And there was a backstage moment with him and AJ Styles. Cue the TNA memories. But anyways, Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, Dominic Mysterio interrupted. Liv Morgan asked for time off because, well, here's the thing. There was a dirt sheet going around saying that next week was going to be a big week for Liv Morgan. And we were like, why is it going to be a big week for her? Well, now we have our answer. She asked for time off because she is going to be filming a movie. She's Hollywood bound, boys.
And from what I've been told, it's not just any movie. They're talking about maybe a possible Hollywood blockbuster. So she might be working with a big franchise in an upcoming movie. Now they're saying it's not in the MCU. It's not in the DC realm, but they did say that it does have to do with a major motion studio. That means now you got to start going through all of the major studios. Paramount. You got to talk about, is it Disney related? Is it, and it seems like it's a very mature role. So we got to see what company it is. But they said it is a major motion picture film.
Well, we'll definitely keep an eye on that. Dominic Mysterio said he also wanted time off, adding that it's merely because he's a champion and he can do what he wants. Aldis said, no. Once you become a champion, the work doubles. And based on what we saw last night, could the Phenomenal One be Dominic's next challenger? Oh.
Yeah.
I'm for it.
I could see it.
Maybe Backlash. Who knows? We'll have to wait and find out. Okay. Now, this is a segment that I know MF is going to have a bit to say because it was his boy, Pat McAfee. MF, we all know MF does it for the brand. He is we're all loyal to Pat McAfee, yes, but out of the 3 of us, MF is the biggest Pat McAfee fan of all of us, even though Bullock and I are fans of his too. He cuts a promo addressing the situation last week with Gunther when Gunther attacked Michael Cole and Pat McAfee. And Nick Aldis, and let's set it up here. Following the events of last week's show, which saw him choked out by Gunther, Pat McAfee climbed atop the announce table and cut an impassioned promo about his life, loyalty, and desire to battle the Ring General. He requested Nick Aldis, filling in for Adam Pearce last night, lift Gunther's suspension so he could get back at him. Instead, the stand-in Raw GM booked it for Backlash. We're going to have a match at Backlash. Pat McAfee versus Gunther. Between Logan Paul getting a world title shot against Jey Uso and Pat McAfee squaring off with Gunther, this PLE is shaping up to be something. Pat McAfee has impressed between the ropes more times than not, and if there is anyone who can get the best out of him in the ring, it's Gunther. And whether you like him or you don't, Pat McAfee is a great talker when focused, and his work here avoided moving into the absurd. This worked better than it had any right to. Justified chants of Michael Cole. There was also a thank you Michael Cole sign in back of him. McAfee said to Michael Cole, "I will be loyal until I'm in the soil." And McAfee also said, "I want you to lift Gunther's ban and I want to fight Gunther ASAP." Well, he's going to have to wait until May 10th. So, Pat McAfee versus Gunther at Backlash. Very good promo indeed. So, there's not much more for me to add on to it. MF, this is your boy. One hell of a promo.
Yeah, this was exactly what it needed it to be. The drama definitely was up by 1,000. Guys were getting, you heard it. And they had to edit it out because he dropped a couple of F-bombs that, oh my God, you can't say that. And even you cannot say that and apparently you cannot say that on Netflix because they edited it out. So I was like, oh my God, what the heck, Pat? But then again, that's Pat McAfee for you. Love him or you hate him. That's the whole freaking package, y'all. So I loved it. I thought it was freaking awesome. It was fiery. It was passionate. It's exactly what it needed to be. And what made it really cool was it was authentic. That's exactly what Pat McAfee is. He'll tell you straight out. He's a stooge, a doofus, an idiot, originally from Pittsburgh, now living in Indianapolis. And he's like, I'm living the most dumbest life that I'm doing right now. Because he's like, this is not real. And he even mentioned it today on his show that maybe he may have made a mistake by issuing the challenge for Gunther and picking a fight with the Ring General. But like he said, it doesn't matter what you do. You mess with my friends, you mess with somebody who I consider family, we're jumping. That's what you saw last week. When McAfee got choked out, those boys that jumped the fence, that was his crew. That was the Toxic Table. That was Darius J. Butler. That was AJ Hawk. That was Tone Diggs. That was Boston Connor. That was Ty Schmidt. That is his crew. You mess with one, you mess with all. That's what it was. And that's why you saw what you saw last week. That mayhem, that chaos, that was his boy jumping the fence because they wanted to get their hand on Gunther to get him off a path when Gunther was choking him out. So that's what happened there. So, like you said, you mess with one, you mess with all. So that's why I love McAfee. That's why I got the respect for him more than anything else. So, Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, you could just see the fire coming out of Pat McAfee saying, you know what? I may be crazy for doing this. To challenge Gunther, but you know what? I don't care. You screw with Michael Cole, you screw with the GOAT, you're going to have to go through me. So, yeah, I loved it. I enjoyed it. So there's really nothing more to say. It's yours, Florio.
All right, I think we're in the main event now here. And it's a rare 2-for-1 deal here. This was the decision of Sami Zayn. Despite an impassioned plea from Seth Rollins to Sami Zayn to take the pass and go to SmackDown, Sami turned it down and found himself placed in a match with the man who defeated him for the Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship at last year's SummerSlam, Braun Breaker. The consequences of Zayn's decision manifested themselves rather quickly as Breaker punished him physically, overpowering him throughout the main event of the show. And no big surprise here when it comes to the match between Braun Breaker and Sami Zayn. Braun Breaker won the match in 12 and a half minutes due to referee stoppage. OMF. Oh, man. Braun Breaker. Man, oh, man. He beat the holy hell out of Sami Zayn, including that insane spear outside the ring to end the show.
That was because they want to make this guy a monster. This is the guy that's going to cause the trouble, cause all the mayhem. You're going to see destruction. And that's what we saw. You know, for good or for bad, whatever you want to say, this was the man that needed it to do it, had to do it in a way, and he did it right. This was a brilliant way to close Monday Night Raw. It adds the fuel to the fire of the destruction that these guys can create. I enjoyed it. I liked it. So I really got nothing more to add. And to reference what Michael Bullock was saying earlier, this is how Seth Rollins will definitely rub the WWE Universe the wrong way. If you want to make him a heel, if you want to make him stop singing and chanting and everything else, this is how you do it. You bring the Messiah out. And that's what he did. He got pissed. And you saw how he was yelling at Braun Breaker at the end, saying, no, you stop that. You've done enough. And then turned around and carve stomped Sami at the end. And basically he's like, I'll do this myself. And you're like, what the hell? Michael Bullock, like you said, if there's one thing that Seth needed it to do, is he's got to do those dastardly things to start making the fans turn on him. Stopping Braun Breaker was a smart move because I was like, all right, you did the right thing. But then turn around and curve stomp Sami right at the end. Yeah, that definitely raised an eyebrow or two, and Miller like, all right, there we go. That's a good way to start it.
Exactly. If you're gonna want to make Seth Rollins that heel, that Monday Night Messiah that he was in the early 2020, this is what you needed to do. And this was done perfectly. You did enough, and we were thinking that's it. And then Seth Rollins goes and does that. That's exactly how you do it. So, unfortunately, this match is going to have to be in NA because it was a referee stoppage. But man, oh man. And Florio, as I give it to you, this is why I never want to be on the outside, especially with Braun Breaker out there. Because when he runs like that and gets ready to do that spear, it's like part of me would be like,
spear.
Huh?
The super spear.
Yeah, part of me is like, yeah, I'm going the other way. I'm not going to want to feel the effects of that because my ribs would be broken for weeks, maybe even months.
Dude, somebody actually clocked him last night, and they said he was being clocked at 23 miles an hour when he was doing that run.
Damn.
They clocked him at 23 miles an hour.
What?
That's how fast he was flying.
Oh, my goodness.
Yikes.
Yikes is right. Oh.
This is why I never want to get on Braun Breaker's bad side.
No, you don't. Anywho, yeah, I suppose you could give it an NA, but if I were to put a rating on the match, it would be by default the fight of the night, 3.25, 3.5, because this was an effective way to highlight the new heel faction against a guy in Sami Zayn who was as beloved by the WWE Universe as anyone in wrestling today. It'll be interesting to see if this is leading to Sami Zayn versus Seth Rollins at Backlash, or if someone else will emerge to defend Sami Zayn against the Visionary. We'll see. Rollins said, the fact that you don't believe in me, that hurts. If you stay on Raw and you don't believe in me, bad things are going to happen to you. And I love you, and I don't want that to happen. Sami asked, for as long as you have known me, have you ever known me to run away? He said, and then but he made the mistake by saying, as a friend, I respect you. I love you. But this is me telling you to go to hell. Yeah, that's going to do it. So with that, let's get into the overall review here. Do you guys remember who's supposed to start off on this one?
I think it's you.
I think it is. All right. I will give this about 7.5 to 8. This was an interesting episode of Raw that was clearly designed to fast track the rivalries that will lead to Backlash on May 10. We had 2 matches officially announced for Backlash. Lyra Valkyria, Becky Lynch for that Women's Intercontinental Championship. Pat McAfee versus Gunther. And other prospective rivalries presenting themselves elsewhere on the show. Some worked more than others, but there was a clear creative direction, which was missing amid card shuffling leading into WrestleMania. That is good enough for last night's show to receive a passing rating, a high rating, as Triple H and company get back to the consistent creative that defined this regime early on. So 7.5 to 8. MF, overall thoughts on Raw?
Yeah, about 8 out of 10. I really got nothing much to say. Anthony, it's yours. I mean, Bullock, it's yours.
7.5 to 8 for me, so nothing more to say. So let's get into NXT.
NXT opened up after the obligatory recap video. He was here. Say his name and he appears. Joe Hendry. After a recap video, TNA World Heavyweight Champion Joe Hendry opened the show with his entrance, which means he obviously accepted Shawn Michaels' invitation to appear tonight. He cut a promo ripping into Trick Williams. He called out Trick, but Dark State showed up in the crowd instead, and they attacked Joe Hendry as their music played and the lights flashed in the arena. They hit their signature powerbomb to take him out. Pretty brief and to the point segment. It was nothing special, but everyone played their parts. Dark State still looks like an unpredictable threat, while Henry looks like a champion willing to defend his promotion's honor. It worked. So, I mean, not really much to speak of on this. So, I think we can bypass this. So with that being said, let's get into our first match of the night. First of 2 title matches on this show tonight. NXT North American Championship on the line. The champion, Ricky Saints, defending against Lexis King. And the winner of the match, 8 minutes and 25 seconds. And still, the NXT North American champion, it is Ricky Saints. This is about 2.5 stars or so. Crowd was loud for this match and chanted in between, reacting to just about every move they performed. Saints did an especially good job playing into it. These two worked together once before in AEW, but this was the first time they have ever met in a singles bout. They worked together to put on a fun match that didn't overstay its welcome. They kept a brisk pace, and both men got in a good amount of offense. And that's all there is to say on that. Having Lexis King agree to defend his cup against Saints and then having him immediately lose it to someone else first was such an odd booking decision. And they timed it pretty well to come back from a commercial break right as both men hit a crossbody at the same time. So, solid 2.5 stars. Not much more. MF, Ricky Saints successfully defends the North American title over Lexis King, 825.
Yeah, 2.5. No doubt about it. I'm not going to make much of an argument on that one. Michael Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, 2.5 stars for me as well. I mean, yeah, like you said, the outcome was never in doubt, so nothing more to say. It's yours, Florio.
All right. Just bear with me for a moment here. Okay. Then we had another promo segment. Tony D'Angelo chanting Stacks Lorenzo. Tony D came out and had some generic cronies on the apron for this meeting with Stacks. He talked about feeling betrayed after giving him the benefit of the doubt. Stacks appeared on the screen and gave his justification before he had a bunch of a bunch of guys dressed as security guards try to attack the Don. He sent them all packing and said if Stacks wants to take him down, he has to do it himself. So that's really all there was to say on that. Another short and to the point segment for the most part. Metaphor is no more. Metaphor, they're going their separate ways. So we'll see how that goes. Then we had the women's North American champion, Sol Ruca, with Zarya in her corner squaring off against Carmen Petrovic. Ashante the Adonis in her corner, non-title bout. Winner of the match, 3 minutes and 28 seconds. It was Sol Ruca. We're going to bypass this. I will say it was not a long match, but they brought a lot of energy to the time they were given. Sol won with the Soul Snatcher. And when Adonis tried to lecture Carmen, she kicked him in the face and left him in the ring as the crowd chanted one more time. The way Ashante was talking to Carmen before the match was uncomfortable to watch, but it was obviously leading to a breakup angle. And the fact that Ruca can hit the Soul Snatcher with such a high rate of success is impressive because it has to be one of the hardest finishers to perform in WWE right now. This is about a 1 to 1.5 star bout. Trick Williams comes out. He cuts a promo. And Williams came out to respond to what Joe Henry said earlier in the show. He admitted Henry had his number, but he said it won't be the same when he fights him for the TNA championship. General Manager Ava came out and criticized Trick for his actions. And she said next week we would have a 25-man battle royal, and the winner of that battle royal will challenge Obafemi for the NXT championship at Battleground. So if he wants his title shot, he's got to earn it. So that was the big talking point of that segment. Hank and Tank. Well, actually, before we get into Hank and Tank, we don't often get into backstage segments here. But this is one that most certainly needs to be addressed. Kelly, the beautiful Kelly Kincaid. Kelly Kincaid was interviewing the NXT champion Obafemi about the Battle Royal. And who showed up out of absolute nowhere? None other than WWE Hall of Famer and Michael Bullock's all-time favorite wrestler, The Undertaker. The Undertaker showed up to tell Oba, this is your yard right now. And he said, well, it's your yard for now. But he introduced 3 guys from the LFG show, Legends and Future Greats, that currently airs on Sunday nights on A&E. Taker's own team member, Shiloh Hill, and 2 members of Booker T's team, Jasper Troy, and I forgot who the other guy was, or I don't know if it was one of. Yeah, there was Jasper Troy and Booker's other. Anthony Luke. That's right, Anthony Luke, who happens to be the boyfriend of Maxine Dupree. So, oh man, what a moment that was. Taker going up to Obafemi. It's your yard right now, but these guys want a future shot at it. And Oba's like, I'm looking forward to the challenge. Man, cool moment there. Especially for those LFG guys. Shiloh Hill, Anthony Luke, and Jasper Troy. NXT Tag Team Championship on the line. The new champions, Hank and Tank, in their first title defense since defeating Fraxium at Stand and Deliver. They defended against Josh Briggs and Yoshiki Inamura. Winners of the match, 10 minutes and 29 seconds, and still the NXT Tag Team Champions. It is Hank and Tank. MF, no big surprise. Hank and Tank win it in their first defense.
No big surprise. 10-25, that's about 2.5 to 3. Or like 2.5 to 2 3/4. Solid matchup. Nothing more to say. Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, 2.5, 2 3/4 as well. So nothing more to say. Let's move on.
There's also me here. 3
Sorry.
1/4. They had a great exchange. This was a hard-hitting and entertaining bout that made it look like Briggs and Inamura were the heavy favorites to win at different points. but Hank and Tank ultimately retained the titles in the end. Like I said, Undertaker showed up backstage with the LFG guys to talk to Obafemi. Taker said they would be coming for him soon. And Inamura was the star of the tag match. He was all over the place and looked great in the ring. So that's all there is to say on that. Then there was a lot of backstage stuff. And I believe this leads right into the big main event. But before we get into that, let's talk about what's going on next week. Loaded show next week, guys. A number one contender, obviously that number one contender is Battle Royale. Kalani Jordan will go one-on-one with Zarya. And Joe Hendry will team up with Hank and Tank to take on 3 members of Dark State in a 6-man tag team match. And also, Jordan Grace is going to go one-on-one with Julia in the number one contenders match. And the winner will challenge Stephanie Vacour for the NXT Women's Championship at Battleground. Main event of the evening, big main event here, guys. Io Sky, the Women's World Champion from Monday Night Raw, teaming up with Jordan Grace. They squared off against Roxanne Perez and Julia. And the winners of the match, 14 minutes and 25 seconds. Io Sky and Jordan Grace. Michael Bullock, there's no doubt about it, easily the fight of the night here. And what a treat to have Io Sky on NXT.
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt about it. What a treat to have her on there. So what was the time of the fall?
14:25.
Yeah, this was definitely the fight of the night. 3.5, teetering on 3 3/4. Yeah, the outcome was never in doubt, but yeah, it was definitely good to see Io Sky back in NXT, but to have her tag with Jordan Grace, man, what a team that was. So nothing more to say. It's yours, Florio.
Fight of the night here, 3.5 to 3 3/4 of a star. These are 4 of the best NXT has to offer, so it should come as no surprise that this was a fun and entertaining bout. Roxanne Perez and Julia meshed well as a team, but Jordan Grace and Io Sky made for an even better duo. Their styles are so different that they complement each other in a unique way compared to their opponents. However, Perez and Julia having more similar skill sets allowed them to hit a couple of cool double team moves during the second half. Strong performance and the right choice to put in the main event. Jordan Grace and Julia fought in the aisle, leaving Io Sky to score the win with her over the moonsault to Roxanne. And the show ended with Ava telling Stephanie Vacour that her next challenger would be the winner of a number one contenders match between Julia and Jordan Grace next week. NXT's commentary is better with 3 people. Each one brings something a little different. Jordan Grace has that level of strength where every power move looks easy, especially against opponents who are so much smaller than her. And Roxanne Perez deserves a lot of credit for making her heel turn work in the ring. Someone her size would usually be an underdog against everyone, but she finds ways to use her physicality so that nobody ever sees her as being less than her opponents. And Io using a backflip to counter a sunset flip was a great spot. 3.5, 3 3/4 of a star, fight of the night, no doubt about it. So MF, Io Sky, and Jordan Grace defeating Roxanne Perez and Julia in an incredible main event, 14:25.
3.5 stars, fight of the night, no doubt about it. This was a solid main event to close the show. They did a really good job. I really enjoyed it, so there's really nothing more to add. Florio, it's yours.
All right. And I lead off on the overall review here. Tonight's NXT was a pretty standard episode overall. We got a few segments to advance storylines, couple of decent bouts, and a couple of bouts that stood out from everything else. Tonight, it was 2 different tag matches that ended up being the biggest highlights. Josh Briggs and Yoshiki Inamura versus Hank and Tank for the tag titles, and the main event with Io and Jordan against Julia and Roxanne. Both of those bouts delivered the best action on the show, but the outcome to the men's tag title bout was about as obvious as it gets due to Inamura's pending exit from NXT back to his home promotion in Japan. The non-wrestling segments were all fine, but the one with Tony D and Stax felt lackluster. This is one of the biggest betrayals in recent NXT history, and it felt like the follow-up to it was filler before we get to the real confrontation. That small nitpick aside, it was a solid episode of NXT that set up some interesting matches for next week with that Battle Royale, to determine Oba's next challenger for the NXT title, and Jordynne Grace versus Julia for the right to be the next challenger for Stephanie Vacour in the NXT Women's Championship. This was right around that 7.5 threshold. Solid show. Not much more to say. MF, your overall thoughts on NXT?
7 out of 10, no doubt about it. I think it could have been a little better in certain areas, but it was really enjoyable to say the very least. Nothing more to add. Michael Bullock, you got the final say. Before we get into the Celtics chat, guys, are we still doing it, or what are you saying, Florio?
Yeah, we can do a quick Celtics chat for Game 5. I mean, they're on their way to the second round, and I'm sure
Right.
Bullock's chomping at the bits to get into it. So
Yeah,
Bullock,
definitely. So go ahead.
Yeah, 7.5 for me. I mean, definitely could have been better, but all in all, not really that much to complain about. So nothing more for me to say. So yeah, so now let's get into the Celtics chat as they officially move on.
Yes, they do. Now, the series shifted to Orlando for Game 3 last Friday night, and the Orlando Magic came away with a 95-93 win to cut Boston's lead down to 2-1. And then on Sunday in Game 4, Boston defeated Orlando by a score of 107-98, which gave the Celtics a 3-1 lead with a chance to close it out at TD Garden here tonight. And without any further ado, let's dive on into it. When Magic star Paolo Banchero went to the bench with 5 fouls, the Boston Celtics pulled away and cruised into the second round. Jason Tatum had a near triple-double, 35 points, 10 assists, 8 rebounds, and the Celtics abandoned their usual 3-point barrage to defeat Orlando 120-89 in Game 5 of their first-round playoff series tonight. The defending NBA champions will play either the 3-seed New York Knicks or 6-seed Detroit Pistons in the second round. And that series has been extended to a Game 6 back in Detroit on Thursday night as the Detroit Pistons staved off elimination tonight in Madison Square Garden, defeating the Knicks 106-103. So the Celtics will get a little extra rest before the second round. So, and here's the thing, Boston fell behind by as many as 9 in the first half. And Orlando had a 51-47 lead in the third quarter when the Magic star player Paolo Banchero picked up his 4th foul. And then he picked up his 5th about a minute and a half later. A call that sent their coach Jamal Mosley to the officials demanding a review. The replay showed Banchero stepped into Jaylen Brown as he shot, and he went to the bench where he stayed for the rest of the quarter. In that time, Boston scored 31 of the next 40 points to open an 83-62 lead, and they never looked back. Matter of fact, they outscored Orlando 36-13 in the third quarter alone, and then outscored them 37-27. They outscored them 73-40 in the second half to defeat the Magic 120-89 to advance to the second round of the NBA playoffs. Looking at the box score, Franz Wagner led Orlando with 25 points. Banchero had 19 with 9 rebounds and 6 assists. Wendell Carter Jr. double-double, 12 points, 10 rebounds. Caldwell Pope had 8. Anthony Black had 8 off the bench. And Jet Howard had 6 off the bench. Jonathan Isaac, 5 off the bench. For the Celtics, of course, it was Jason Tatum, 35 points, 10 assists, nearly had a triple-double with 8 rebounds. Jaylen Brown, 23 points and 6 rebounds for him. Sam Hauser and Peyton Pritchard each with 10 off the bench. Luke Cornett with 9 off the bench. And looking at the numbers, the Celtics shot almost 57% from the field tonight. Orlando almost just about 38. The 3-point shooting, the big difference here. The Celtics were 13 of 24 for 54% from 3-point range. Orlando, 8 of 38 and only shot 21% from 3. Not going to get it done. From the free throw line, Boston 21 of 24 for 87.5%. Orlando 15 of 22 for 68%. The overall rebounding was 44-38 in favor of Orlando. 15-3 offensive rebounds for Orlando, but Boston had the defensive rebounds advantage, 35-29. Boston had 30 assists, Orlando 19. Orlando 7 steals, Boston 5. Celtics had 3 blocks, Magic had 2. Celtics committed 11 turnovers, Magic committed 12. Magic conceded 20 points off those turnovers, where Boston conceded 12. Fast break points, 13-11 in favor of Orlando. Points in the paint, 48-36 in favor of Boston. Celtics committed 18 fouls. Orlando committed 20. Orlando once had a lead of 9. Boston's biggest lead, however, was 34. And they never looked back. 120-89. The Boston Celtics, they defeat the Magic tonight. They win the series 4-1, and they are moving on to the second round of the NBA playoffs, where they will square off against either the number 3 seed, the New York Knicks, or the number 6 seed, the Detroit Pistons. Both teams of which the Celtics have a lot of playoff history with over the years. So it's going to be a fun series, regardless of who comes out of that New York-Detroit series. New York had a chance to put away Detroit tonight at Madison Square Garden, but the Pistons staved off elimination, winning 106-103, cutting New York's lead down to 3-2. Game 6 back at Little Caesars Arena in Detroit on Thursday night. So the Celtics will get a good few days to rest before we start the second round. So not much more to say here. Michael Bullock, come on in. I know it's been a long and busy day. It started as a emotional and busy day for you. But at the end of the night, no better way to put a smile on your face than having your beloved Celtics move one step closer to successfully defending their NBA championship, putting away Orlando, and they did it in grand style, 120-89. New York or Detroit? New York or Detroit is next. What's your preference if you have one?
I'll tell you what. I mean, I don't think it's really going to matter if you're the Celtics. I mean, because I think they could be either one of them. And here's the thing: when it comes to the New York Knicks, Florio, what's their record against the top 3 teams in the overall in the NBA?
If I remember correctly, I think you said it was 0-9.
Yeah.
Yeesh.
Yeah, that's not going to get it done. I mean, especially winless against the Celtics. So, I mean, should it be a good series? I mean, because yes, but they're going to go in as underdogs. I mean, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, I mean, and let's not forget, the Celtics, they were trailing at one point at halftime. But that second half, boys, I mean, they put the pedal to the metal and then some, and all led by Jason Tatum, and yeah, they just never looked back. And yeah, I mean, and what really hurt the Magic too was Pablo Banchero. I mean, he already had like 5 fouls in the third quarter in the early part, and that wasn't going to help them out. And by the time he came back in, I think it was pretty much decided. So, like you said, now they'll get some time to rest up before the next series, whenever it starts. Of course, that all depends on what happens Thursday night with Game 6 between the Knicks and the Pistons. So, nothing more to say, Florio. Let's call it a night.
Yes, indeed. And that will put the bow on this edition of Ridiculously Raw. We want to thank you all so very much for tuning in as always. We'll be back with you again on Thursday night, right back here on the Tone 25 at 10:30 for a very special edition of TXN Sports World, our 2025 NFL Draft Recap Special. Team by team, we'll go team by team. We'll give you our grades, what we liked, what we didn't like, and the whole 9 yards. So that'll be on Thursday. Friday, 11 p.m. over on MF's channel, Brace Fan 95. We got the Cerebral Smack Talk. TNA Impact, the live TNA Impact coming up, as well as Friday Night SmackDown. And then 1 week from tonight, we do it all over again with Ridiculously Raw, which I believe will be as part of our go home week for Backlash, where we'll review Monday Night Raw and NXT. So that's it. So until Thursday night for our 2025 NFL Draft Recap edition of TXN Sports World, this is Anthony Florio here for the Phenom, Michael Bullock, and in spirit, good old MF, Michael Fletcher. And of course, always and forever, our First Lady, the Twisted Angel, Dee Dee Woodson. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah. Throw it up, Fortune 4 style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed couple of days. And until Thursday night, you've been watching Ridiculously Raw right here on the Zone 25 on YouTube and Streamy.com. And remember, my friends, and when anyone tells you beyond anything else, wrestling is indeed actually real. For everybody who's been a part of this one, for now, Anthony Florio, so long, and bye, everybody. Bye.